This is the Milo Beasley Show. This is the Milo Beasley Show. There's only one thing you need to know. This is the Milo Beasley Show. And now, here's your host, Milo Beasley.
And welcome to the Milo Beasley Show. Episode number 301. We're still celebrating our 300th episode, 300th first, our 7-year anniversary just last week. So thank you guys for watching. And I'm so excited about our next guest 301. So please, with no further ado, help me welcome to the show at this time, Naomi Grossman. How are you?
Oh, I'm well. Thank you for having me. I enjoyed your little intro, seeing you hugging on all my friends.
Yeah, it's I've gotten to chat like that's the thing. Like before last March, like I did all my interviews like at conventions or just places around the country, and then all that came to a stop, and I got super bummed out about it. And then I was like, well, let me try doing this virtual thing. And it's been great. I've been able to talk to people who I haven't been able to reach out to before, or people who, so like I'm in Orlando, you came down to Spooky Empire.
Right.
And so, but like there was, sometimes there's just no time to chat at those things.
Right. Yes. Or you're spread in a million different directions. There's so many people to talk to. Where do you begin?
Absolutely. So, but again, thank you so much. So again, like I said, last March, everything just came to an end. So what have you been up to during that time? I mean, I know you've done, you've written plays and screenplays and, stuff like that. Has that been occupying your time, or are you one of those banana bread people?
No, I am not banana bread. No, I have done zero puzzles. I still don't know how to cook. Like you, I fell into a deep dark hole, which only getting busy and creative could possibly get me out of. And so that's good. It was probably right around now last year, like March, April, dark days. But, come May, I started to get creative. And like you said, I started writing my next big thing, or at least I think it will be. I guess we don't decide these things, the audience does. But I wrote a third solo show, which I'm excited to see where that goes. I've done one-woman shows in the past, and self-produced them everywhere from the Edinburgh Fringe in Scotland to London's West End to off Broadway, toured around to colleges. I actually went to University of Florida with it. But I, at this point, I'm at a little different place in my career. And so, I kind of have my sight set on selling it to a streaming service as a 1-hour comedy special. And why not? The fact is, we're not going to theaters anyway, right? Like, and not only that, but Netflix is starving for content. And actually, we're watching those sorts of shows now. Like, once upon a time, you saw theater in theater, but now there's all kinds of shows, not just like mine, but the same genre on these streaming services. So I don't see why they wouldn't want mine too. So I'm very thrilled to say, yes, I squandered, a couple months of it, but there's a real silver lining for me anyway. A lot of people died, I'm not going to deny that, but I managed to come away with something really, really beautiful and funny and painful and dark and hilarious, and hopefully it can make me some money.
Absolutely. So like, that's gotta be a change. I mean, I guess developing it, but when you're performing, you get instant feedback. But when you're but now if you do a Netflix special or Hulu or Amazon, one of these things, that feedback is gonna take time. That's gotta be nerve-wracking.
That's true. That's the difference between, when you're on stage, you're like, punchline, immediate gratification. Whereas on a set, you could act your pants off and they're okay, moving on. And you're like, where's my Emmy? Where's my Oscar? So applause at least. And you're lucky if you get, that doesn't happen. Not often.
Right. So yeah, so I'm interested to see. I'm definitely going to be following this to see where this ends up going, because your past two super successful, Carnival Knowledge. I mean, very, very successful.
Well, I mean, I don't mean to interrupt you, especially while you're complimenting me. No, but I was going to say this one in particular is very fan friendly. For folks like you that go to all the Comic-Cons, and especially those who don't know Carnival Knowledge or, my prior work, that think that like Horror Story is my first thing, they will be very surprised to hear the story. It's because I kind of take you through. It's pre-pepper, it's as pepper, it's post-pepper. It's really a love letter to fans and to the show. It's called American Horror Story. So I'm definitely tipping my hat to the show. Yeah, so I'm excited. It's for you guys at the end of the day.
I'm hoping when I Google that, my computer doesn't.
Right? I'm sure there's a porno by that name.
There has to be, right? Like that's like the rule, right? If there's something, then there's a version of it.
Of course, yeah. But mine's not the porno.
So, but yeah. So I want to talk a little bit about American Horror Story and your character Pepper. Mm-hmm. So. You started on season 2, but did you watch season 1 when it came out? Were you a fan originally?
Originally, no, I didn't even know what it was. I called a friend who watches a lot of TV and said, I got an audition for American Horror Story. Have you heard of this? And, he gave me the whole skinny, but of course that didn't help me in the audition since every season is totally self-contained.
Correct.
Yeah. So it wasn't until I was cast that I went ahead and, found it on wherever and watched it. And yeah, I remember being kind of like curled up with my laptop in bed and like, oh my God, like what is this? So excited because Jessica Lange, like they were just really like legendary, actors involved. And so, that was exciting. But of course I had a bit of an imposter syndrome. Like how did I fool who, like, how did they get my name in there? Like, but I've had to get over that. They meant me.
That's fantastic. Yeah, that's when you get in there, you're like, did they cast the right person? But absolutely. I mean, you absolutely knocked it out of the park. But when you were, how soon before the filming actually began, were they like, so about your hair, about this makeup?
Well, you can see now my COVID hair. It's almost like they'd be doing me a favor. I'm pleased to say things have picked up. This pandemic is, at least Hollywood, according to Hollywood, it is. I wouldn't say completely over, but it's we're definitely, things are picking up. I've already gotten back to work. Can't tell you on what, but they liked the hair, which I was like, no, like, don't get me wrong. Like the Pepper hair, that was a distinct choice. And so, I'm relieved they're not asking me to do that, but, yeah, no, that was quite the do. Hard to justify, because they make it's so, that show was so secretive that they provided me with a wig so that I would be able to go about my regular life without anybody wondering, like, what happened to Naomi? Like, did she just join the Hare Krishnas? Like, is she having a nervous some sort of midlife crisis? Like, what would possess you to shave everything but this little like hair yarmulke.
Right.
Yeah. So that was a unique look. I'll never forget, being in hot tubs. I'm single, so here I'd, find myself on a date and don't touch the hair.
Right.
Last thing I want is for, stuff to come off and then wonder, like, then I try to explain, but without,
Right.
defying any NDAs, you name it. It was challenging.
Right. So around family and friends, you had to wear your wig then.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I had every now and then a neighbor or two would like catch me through the window, like, not wearing a wig. Like, but
Right.
yeah, for the most part, I wore because again, I had this sort of sensible bob my entire life, and so
Right.
why would one day I just suddenly decide to do this? So yeah. that was season 2 though. Season 4, we shot in New Orleans. And so, and because I think it was really a courtesy because, I had that husband, Salty,
Right.
and he was just a bald man. And so it was almost like, well, why does she have to run around looking like this freak show when he just gets to go about his regular life? So they actually shaved me completely and gave me a piece, which I really appreciated. Honestly, like, it was July in the South. Like, I wasn't trying to wear anything more than I absolutely had to. And don't get me wrong. I know that there were, I was spotted on the street every now and then, and someone,
Right.
oh, can I take a picture? And I'm like, yeah, but can you not post it till September, October? Like, because why is Naomi Grossman running around as a bald woman in this
I mean, maybe you
faraway
have
city?
a Britney Spears cosplay fantasy.
There you go. I didn't have that answer ready.
Could have walked around with an umbrella the entire time.
Oh, yes.
All right. Next time. So prior to season 4, there hadn't been a character who reoccurred as that character. How were you? I was going to say, how stoked were you? But then, how nervous were you about Pepper returning for another season?
It was totally unprecedented. Never happened before. So, I mean, on one hand, I was like, so flattered. Like, oh my God, like, wow. But then I remember then getting to set and actually Ryan Murphy, the creator, even said in the hair makeup trailer, as they're going to get the shears to shave me bald, he was like, so are you Pepper? And of course I was like, let's decide. Like, they're about to shave my head. So, you tell me, dude, you're the boss. But I think the trepidation was bringing Pepper back, Pepper per se, meant, yes, the 2 seasons are indeed connected. And whereas I think, especially early on, they were trying to be a little bit elusive, like, and if you notice, they don't actually call me by name until later on in the season. In fact, we're constantly referred to as the humorous pinheads. And honestly, this is just my theory, but that show loves its Emmy Awards. And the Emmys love it too, of course. But I think maybe there might have been a concern with, is the show indeed a limited series if we have returning characters? And you'll notice since then it is now a drama. So but I think initially that was sort of the concern, like, oh boy, if we bring this character back, will we still win all the Emmys? Which they deserve.
Right.
I mean, that's my theory.
That.
What do I know? But I'm just a pinhead. But obviously later on, it's obvious that but they write the show as they go. So maybe I don't know. What do I know?
Did you think here we are 9 years later that you would still be talking about Pepper.
No, no. Like I'm watching your, like little clip reel at the beginning there, and I see Butch Patrick. I mean, my God, he was what? Like he was a 5-year-old, 10 year. I don't know how old he was when he did Eddie Munster, but he's a grown man now. So, and here he is, like if in 40, 50 years we are still talking about Pepper, I think we have a problem. But
right. You didn't exactly branch out like the way you wanted to.
Well, hey, listen, don't get me wrong. I would bring her back if,
Right.
I'm hardly going to bite the hand that feeds me. I love Pepper. People love Pepper. Have some salt with your pepper. I'm all about it. But these aren't I don't make these decisions. So.
So you've done a lot of horror conventions.
Mm.
And obviously Pepper has to be a big draw there. I mean, but my question is, has anybody said anything that's a little bit like, hey, you want to meet up later, but wear your Pepper costume?
Fortunately, no. Unfortunately, that would be a special someone, wouldn't it?
Right.
I mean, the fact is I can't. Like,
right.
I physically, I can,
right.
I can do her, but it's not the same without, it takes a village. And not only do I need 3 hours in the makeup chair with, multiple Emmy-winning, makeup artists,
right.
but I need permission. Like, I don't even own that character. So the only Pepper we know is the Pepper that, like I said, Ryan Murphy has watched
right.
and edited and said, yes, put his, stamp on. So that's just something you're never going to see. I'm sorry.
And I think you would have to shave your head for that again. So.
Oh, exactly. No. That costs money.
Yes. But could we get what about a Pepper, her own series?
Oh, yes. Like I would love that, but again, not mine to choose. I don't decide these things.
Right. Do you have any Pepper merchant, like the Funko Pops? She has a Funko Pop, right?
Does.
Do you have any of that stuff like lying around or fan made?
I don't know if you can see. I'm in this room with just like peppers everywhere.
Yeah.
This is kind of my, office, dressing room, guest room. When I have guests, I warn them, this is, I hope you're not afraid of waking up with like 100,000 peppers, like staring down at you. But yes, so I'm looking at a Funko Pop now. I've got a licensed Halloween mask.
Right. Yeah. I had that mask like pulled up on my screen, and it's, let's see if I can pull this thing up real quick. And it is it's kind of crazy.
Yeah. Yep, there she is.
Yeah. I guess you could wear that at conventions.
Well, yes. It's all flattering at the end of the day. I never could have anticipated this sort of response. I knew it was kind of a unique character when they first pitched it to me, but I still imagine that I was like one of an army of pinheads. Like, I didn't know why they would, cast me, like, of all the people in the world. Like, they were, when you think about just season 2, the call sheet, it's like they were casting even big names in fairly itty bitty roles, and so like, why me? Now, listen, I think the casting was brilliant, but truly, they first of all, if you're gonna cast like a Lady Gaga, you want to see your face, right? That's the whole point. Right. Whereas me, like, I was unrecognizable at the time, so yeah, I'm like the perfect person to lay a bunch of prosthetics on. But furthermore, given the fact that I, came from the theater and I'm used to, acting to the back row, that's actually what's necessary when you're covered in plastic like that. You know what I mean? Like if you do this very like subtle, Judi Dench style acting, by the way, love Judi Dench. I'm just saying, like,
Right.
she's very subtle, and if you do that covered in prosthetics, you basically, it doesn't look like anything. Whereas, I'm very animated. You see that just talking to me here. And that's that was important to the character, honestly, to like kind of penetrate all that makeup.
Absolutely.
And besides, I also have like a improv background, and that was absolutely critical. Like there's on the page, there's not much. Pepper, if you're counting, doesn't have a whole lot. She's not exactly a wordsmith,
Right.
So I was having to kind of improvise, like act between the lines, because I didn't have any otherwise.
I have to ask, how much fun was the dance scene with the name game and stuff with in season 2?
Oh, that was the best day of my life, because I was being paid to sing and dance and be as big as I wanted to be. Again, I am as a a theater person who fancies TV acting. I'm constantly being told, like, you can take it down a notch, like do less, don't push, do nothing, throw it away, and this was the one time that I actually heard on one of the assistant directors on a big megaphone said, everyone can go bigger except Pepper. Which is so funny. Like I literally was like my one time I could really just let my freak flag fly, like go as big as I wanted to be, and other people had to match me. So that's
awesome.
But then, I mean, God, it was like 12 hours later, I was like delivering babies and monologues, it was like, what is happening?
Right.
It was a lot.
Yeah.
And it was perfect.
That episode is probably one of my all-time favorites. Like of all the episodes, that one was so good. Now, you're LA, you're Hollywood? Is that where you are?
I am Hollywood. I'm LA.
So have you a couple years ago when Universal Studios had Halloween Horror Nights and they had the American Horror Story house, did you go through it?
Yes. So this is actually a story in my one-woman show, in the show that I told you about that I wrote. Indeed, I went. Gosh, I'm trying to decide if I should tell you the story or not.
Oh, no. Well, let people pay to hear this story. Well, I mean, I personally want you to. I want to hear it because
I will tell. Okay, I'm not going to tell the whole story.
Okay.
It's an hour-long show. But I will tease the fact that yes, of course, every actor's dream is to have their facha in a amusement park. I mean, my God, it doesn't get better. So yes, obviously I was going to be there for that. And I remember distinctly going with a girlfriend who was visiting me from New York, and after the red carpet and the party, I explained, I was like, Hollywood sucks. Like, we need our beauty sleep. Things kind of close down around here. It's not like New York that, never sleeps. And I was like, what should we do? Netflix and chill? What are you thinking? And she's like, I propose we lose these high heels, drop this tap of acid, and head back into the park. And that's what we did. Now, listen, this is not my MO. I am a very nice girl. I don't do drugs. Kids don't do drugs. But let me tell you, if there were ever a place to do it, I mean, it's trippy enough seeing your likeness in an amusement park. Never mind on psychedelics. Like, it was unbelievable. I was loving it. I'm not gonna lie. My girlfriend, who doesn't have such a taste for horror, was having an absolute panic attack. But you know, it was an experience. There's a reason people usually like drop acid in meadows. You know what I mean? Like the less whatever it is, the less you know, a psychotic breaks. You know what I'm saying. Maybe you don't. The point is, it was not a likely place, but and never mind the fact that there were, you know, fans. There were fans. Like I was like, do not let them see my eyeballs. Like, oh my god, you know, they're like want to take selfies, and I'm like, back up.
Oh my god, I'm dying over here.
You didn't see that coming.
No. That was not no. I thought you were like, yeah, we walked through and it was awesome, and people asked for pictures, and that was this went
this went a whole nother way. That's what you get with me. You're not gonna ever get what you ordered, but you're gonna like what you get.
Absolutely. Another thing I want to talk about is prior to your work with American Horror Story and doing some of this other stuff, you wanted to work with Saturday Night Live. You wanted to be a cast member.
I mean, yeah, that was the dream.
Yeah. Is that something that is still like that you still could perhaps pursue, that sketch comedy style, or do you like more, you know, I guess I don't want to say dramatic roles or more scripted, you know, roles?
Well, yes and no. I think I've gotten over that. I mean, for a while it was really an obsession, and it was kind of unhealthy, because I was watching my friends go and audition for it, and I wasn't, and I was like, what gives, you know? And I mean, at this point, I'm a little bit. First off, I'm kind of like, I'm a little old for that, and that's perhaps not true. You know, the fact is Mikey Day is on there. He was a friend of mine from the Groundlings prior, and he's on there now. So I suppose maybe not. But I also I like the idea of just sort of trusting the process, and you know, for such a long time I had my blinders on, like you know, SNL, that I wasn't seeing all the other opportunities out there. And, you know, for all I know, AHS was over here. You know, there were other things that I wasn't allowing myself to see. And I think that was a little bit ill directed. I think instead of being so focused on sketch comedy specifically, I needed to be focused on character work. Like, I am a character actress. That means I can do SNL. It means I can do AHS. I can do all the acronyms, all the letters of the alphabet. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, I suppose maybe I'll host it instead. I don't know.
Absolutely.
You know, the fact is, what people don't know about me is I am funny. I am an improviser. I do big characters. Like Pepper could totally be on SNL. You know what I mean? It's just a matter of like dialing that dial. You know what I mean? Like, obviously the Pepper that we saw in the Orphans episode, you know, her, you know, Pepisode, as I like to call it, the sort of origin story was very dialed down, and it needed to be, because that was the tone of that story. But sure, if you put her in the house with the Coneheads or in the car with Toonsis the cat, you're gonna get that's a different, you know, that's Pepper on crack. Or acid. Right. You name your substance.
I think you need to write that sketch of going. You need to write that sketch of going to the haunted house on acid.
Oh, it's in the show. I told you.
Right, but I think that you need to pitch that to NBC as a SNL sketch.
Oh, as an SNL sketch.
As an SNL sketch.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Another thing I
Don't
want to
get me
talk
wrong,
about.
I'm also wide open if, if anyone wants to make American Horror Story the next Fleabag, because let's face it, that's how Fleabag started. Fleabag
Right.
started as a solo show in Edinburgh, Scotland. So,
Right.
I don't know. Listen, I'm not mad at making my life into SNL sketches for NBC. Fine. But why limit it to 3 minutes when we could have like multiple season Emmy winning scripted series?
Absolutely.
Just saying.
Absolutely. I am on board with that. I am on
Okay.
board with your show.
Great. Me too.
So I want to talk about, you've had some amazing Instagram videos of you doing yoga
Oh, yeah.
with basically your head between your legs and some other weird things like that. How long have you been into yoga?
Over 20 years now. Yeah. So I would say, I've always been super into it, but at the start of the pandemic, the teacher who happened to see me ugly crying on the floor because I knew this was over. Like,
Right.
She basically saved me. She, picked me up off my mat and invited me to her house and said, we're going to be practicing at my house if you'd like to join us. And sure enough, I was sneaking out all pandemic long, hoping people didn't see, because you don't want to bring home COVID. But I was like, no, I have to do this. Like, my mental health is as important as my physical health at this point, and that is what is on the line.
Right.
And yeah, I know what video you're talking about. There's a specific pose. It's almost like The Exorcist, where I've got my head on the floor and I'm doing a complete 360 around myself, which of course requires flipping your entire body over, like basically in a back bend at the 180 marks, the 0 and 180. So that's what happens when you're, in a very intimate setting. It's just you and like maybe a couple others in somebody's house in a pandemic, and you've done everything else. It's time to try the Exorcist.
So I've tried getting into yoga in the past, mainly with Wii yoga, but it's a start. But I know other people have gotten into it, and it's really changed their lives. So again, that's why I was like, you're like, oh well, I want to hear about Pepper, and you're going to talk about yoga. But no, I think yoga, as you said, that's a great place for mental stability. And right now, in May of 2021, people need that mental stability because things have been rough.
Oh yeah, no, and honestly, you cannot talk about Pepper without yoga, because I do yoga every day, and yoga is as much of part of me as Pepper is. And Pepper does yoga. Like, there are behind the scenes photos of Pepper doing yoga. Just saying. I know she doesn't really have a yoga body, but
that's fantastic.
That's also a fat suit. Like, if it weren't for yoga, I wouldn't be able to take my fat suit off. But fortunately, because of yoga, I am. And I can eat all that I want at the craft services table because of yoga.
Right. Perfect.
There you go. If there's not a better reason to start doing yoga, it's being able to eat whatever you want at craft services.
All right, I'm starting tomorrow. All right, so we're going to go into our first of our 2 mini games. This one is called the Milo Beasley Show Frequently Asked Questions, where I'm going to ask you the same 5 questions that I ask to every single guest on the Milo Beasley Show. So, are you ready?
Is this math?
No, there's no math. No, these are all questions that you already know the answers to, although some of them I've been told are really, really tough questions.
Okay.
So, question number 1. Who was your first celebrity crush?
Okay, this is gonna be weird because I'm not a lesbian. Lily Tomlin.
Oh, okay. I can get that one. Absolutely.
Total girl crush. Like, oh, and she is a lesbian. So maybe I'll be a lesbian. No,
Hey, you know.
is no, I saw her work. I saw her one woman show, Search for Signs of Intelligent Life in the Universe, as a little girl up on stage, and I remember thinking, that's what I want. I want to be that lady, and she informed my life always. So yeah, that's my celebrity crush. And maybe I have more of, maybe I want her career more than like her body, but
You know, it's still a crush.
that's right.
I-
I'm a
Question-
sapiosexual, right? Isn't that when you're like in love with someone's mind?
I think so, right? Yeah.
Either that or maybe, I don't know, you're in love with frogs. I don't think I made that up. I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe you're in love with frogs now. Question number 2. What is your guilty pleasure song?
Oh.
Yeah. So what's that song that is on your iPad or iPod and you will listen to it? You'll have it in the car cranked up. It might not be cool, but you don't care.
Yes. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm hearing it in my head, and I'm waiting for the chorus so that I know the words to it. So if you're wondering, like, wow, she just went somewhere. Yeah, is it that song "Jump Around"?
By House of Pain.
There you are. You got it.
Yes.
That song, I used to crank that to like get hyped up to do my solo show in
that's cool.
And it was just like, you know what? I think I had like a great night, and I'm super superstitious. So I'm like, well, what was the variable? Like, what was it that made me have such a great show? And I was like, House of Pain. So then I had to listen to it every single night before.
You should have played it over the house speakers to get the crowd into your mental state.
Well, it's not. They had nothing to do with each other, but
right.
Thank you. Maybe for the next one. Maybe for Horror Story. All
right. So this one might be a tough one. This one is a 50-50 mix. It's a A or B. But if you had to, if your life depended on it, would you rather fight a horse-sized duck or 100 duck-sized horses?
A horse-sized duck.
Yes.
Or 100 tiny horses.
Yes.
You know, I am a lover, not a fighter. So this is very hard. This is a trick question for me. I would just love to see a horse-sized duck. And I think maybe, again, because I'm so averse to conflict, I would find a way for us to work through it. We'd actually get on famously. Maybe we'd even do some cool like aerial yoga together. And I could, you know what I mean? Like maybe there's like cool partner yoga that like the giant duck and I could do. That's where my head's going.
That's an answer. That's it's not an answer I've ever got before, so it's an original answer. I've had people say that they want to tame the duck and try to and then ride him as a vehicle.
Yes.
So it's on that same wavelength. You know, yeah. Befriend the duck, because I would like to ride a giant duck. I think that would be really cool.
I mean, on acid, but yes.
All right.
I was gonna say, did you slip something in this interview? All of a sudden, we're riding giant ducks. I'm like, what happened?
Question number 4. What is your favorite movie quote?
Um. Oh. Um. Oh, that's really hard. Well, I would
I
say
told you these are hard questions.
they are. I think my mantra in life is not just a movie quote, it's a Shakespeare quote, but to thine own self be true. I think it's really important that, I think we live like so concerned with what each other will think and what society wants and what our family expects of us, or what the social media will say. And I feel like we come into this life alone, we're gonna leave it alone. Like, just to thine own self be true, like you do you, and who cares, to hell with the rest. So
I like it.
there you go.
That's good. That's a good one.
All right.
All right. And then question number 5, man, that is a really good one. I'm going to be thinking about that one all day now.
Good.
Not on acid.
Yeah, I was going to say, I've recovered from my acid trip. I'm finally back.
All right. So our last question is, finish this sentence. I would be a millionaire if I had $1 every time.
Every time someone asks me, is Evan Peters nice? How long does the makeup take? What was it like working with Jessica Lange? Yeah. Like, I almost feel like at these conventions, I need just like a board to just hold in front of me and say, like, yes. 2 to 3 hours.
just be like,
amazing.
What is your question? Here, there you go, right there.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. And then our second of our 2 mini games is called the Milo Beasley Show Top 5, where I'm asking you a question. You give me your top 5, no particular order. Usually I try to base this off of something that we talked about earlier, like a little bit of foreshadowing. So I think this one's going to be a good one. Top 5, no particular order, recurring SNL characters.
Ooh. Oh. Eesh. Top 5. Oh God. I mean, yes, now that I've just mentioned Toonsis and the Coneheads, but I don't think they're my top 5. That's just what I'm thinking about right now.
Tough. I know. I asked the tough questions.
It is hard. Well, I love what's that ugly, like, has weird little hands, the character that Kristen Wiig plays.
Oh yeah, I don't know her name, but I know who she had like sisters.
Girls,
yeah, she always had the sisters.
I'm Betty. I'm
right.
And then
right.
I just relate to her. I just like yes, girl, I've been there.
Sounds a good one.
Yeah. Well, obviously, what's his name? Who was it? Oh, I guess it was Al Franken that did Deep
Stewart?
Thoughts.
Oh, Deep Thoughts with Jack Handy.
Jack Handy. I love Jack Handy. I feel like he's informed so much of my like philosophy and yoga and
right.
I mean, you see, there's a deep part of me, to thine own self be true, quoting Shakespeare up in here. Yeah. No, I love Jack Handy. For that matter, I mean, this is when I was really obsessed with SNL, or at least just trying to stay awake for it, was, like Dana Carvey did such an amazing George Bush.
Yes.
Do you remember? Well,
absolutely.
Anytime that there's an election, I mean, yeah, I don't want to get political, but this last election cycle, it was almost hard to watch because it's like the debate we just saw was almost more SNL like than SNL.
Right. Yeah. No, absolutely. I
Yeah.
100% agree.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, my goodness, both Alec Baldwin and
Jim Carrey did
Jim
the
Carrey knocked that out of the park. Oh gosh.
So we got 3 down, 2 to go.
I only got 3. Okay. Oh, what was Dita? Remember Dita?
Yep.
I mean, again, I'm going way back.
I mean, but these are what I remember. These are the same type characters.
What about the character? Oh shoot. Well, can I have 6?
Yes.
I was gonna say the weightlifters that then they're like
Hans and Franz.
Hans and Franz. I love Hans and Franz. That is my comedy. Like watching people's arms rip off and like spritz blood. And I realize now I think about it, I'm like, of course I'm a scream queen. Like, duh. But I don't know. I love like ridiculous physical comedy like that. Yeah. But I was going to say at the same time, you cannot ask me my favorite characters without at least mentioning Gilda Radner. I mean, Rosanna Dana and that little girl, whatever her name was, who jumped on her bed. I mean, she has truly informed me. I mean, that girl crush on Lily Tomlin, it extends. It's real. It's Gilda Radner. It's Tracy Ullman. It's Carol Burnett. I mean,
absolutely.
Oh my God! If I could like matrix those 4 together into this like just compilation, like Dream Woman, I would go there. Like, even as far on the spectrum as I am, like boy crazy, I could manage to. I could. But it'd have to be literally a matrix of my 4 favorite aging and 1 dead comedians. So
that might be tough to do.
Sorry, ladies. I like the boys.
So coming up, you have the Carolina Fear Fest.
True, I do. At the end of this month, Carolina Fear Fest. And then I want to say next month, Houston Horror Film Festival. And then in September, El Paso Film Festival, or El Paso Comic-Con.
Fantastic. So I mean, I'm thrilled that conventions are going to be back up and running. It's just again a sense of normalcy and stuff like that. So before we wrap up, you want to throw out those social medias?
Yes, indeed. Naomi W. Grossman across all platforms. And of course, my website is Naomi. I'm sorry. Yeah, I said Naomi W. Grossman. My website's Naomi Grossman without the W.net. But yeah, follow me. I got, like I said, I'm not just, sitting at home writing one-woman shows, dropping acid. I am back to work, and I got some really cool things ahead, which, unfortunately, like I said, I wouldn't have been able to talk about anyway. But I'm excited for, to move on, to have other things to talk about than Pepper.
Absolutely. And I'm excited to follow your journey. So again, thank you very much for hanging out with me. And again, the journey has just begun, and everybody get on board. Thank you all for watching and helping celebrate again 7 years of doing this silly show. So thank you all, and we'll see you next week.